Ever feel like you're on that treadmill working crazy hard, but not really getting ahead when it comes to like building actual wealth?
Yeah.
Not just, making ends meet?
Right.
Well, you're not alone. And that's why we're doing a deep dive into Naval Ravikant's. He's got this amazing book out, tons of insightful podcast interviews.
Right.
And he's got this unique perspective, this blend of Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
strategy, but also like this timeless wisdom. So we're going to try to unpack his formula for building wealth.
Okay.
And surprisingly, also finding happiness.
Yeah. They're very much intertwined, he would argue.
Totally.
Yeah. In his work. Yeah.
So ready to decode it.
Let's do it.
Let's go. So Naval really cuts to the chase in a lot of his work. And one of the things he emphasizes is it's not just about working hard.
Right.
It's about working smart. And it's about leverage.
Leverage is the key. And I love how he illustrates this with the analogy of building a house.
Ooh. Okay. I love a good analogy. So lay on me.
Okay. So imagine 3 people. You've got a repair person.
Okay.
You've got a contractor.
Okay.
And then you've got a real estate developer.
Okay.
They all work with houses in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
But their approach to wealth creation is very different. The repair person trades their time and their skills for an hourly wage that's limited leverage.
Right.
The contractor, they manage projects. They leverage other people's labor. So there's a larger payoff there.
They're scaling up a little bit.
Exactly, exactly. But the real estate developer, they use capital and leverage to create assets, entire buildings, even communities that generate wealth long term, even when they're not actively working on that specific project anymore.
Okay, so it's not just about the work itself, it's about the systems you build around the work.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Right.
And Naval stresses this isn't about everyone becoming a real estate mogul. It's about understanding these principles of leverage and applying them to your own unique skills and knowledge. He calls it finding your specific knowledge.
Okay, break that down for me. Specific knowledge. It sounds a little vague.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
So think of it like this. What's that thing that you're amazingly good at? The thing that people always come to you for advice on, even if it seems niche to you.
Yeah.
That's your specific knowledge.
Okay.
And Naval argues that in today's interconnected world, especially with the internet, you can leverage even niche expertise to potentially reach a global audience.
Yeah, the internet's changed the game, hasn't it?
Completely.
In so many ways.
It's amazing what you can do
Yeah.
just by,
Sure.
connecting with people online.
So it's about identifying those unique strengths, even if they seem small or insignificant, and then finding ways to scale their impact.
Exactly. And this is where the long-term thinking comes in. Naval talks about the power of compounding,
Okay.
not just with money, but with everything.
Okay, I've heard that about investments, like compound interest. But everything. Give me an example. How does that work?
Okay, so take relationships, for example.
Okay.
Consistently showing up, being reliable, building genuine connections with people.
Yeah.
It's like making small deposits into a relationship bank account.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Over time, that trust and goodwill, it compounds, just like interest.
Okay.
And it leads to these stronger bonds and opportunities you might never have anticipated.
So it's about playing a long game, understanding that consistent effort over time yields the biggest returns.
Precisely. And in this age of information overload...
Oh, tell me about it.
I know, right? Naval argues that one skill is more crucial than ever. Judgment.
Judgment, okay.
It's about cutting through all the noise and making sound decisions, even and especially when the stakes are high.
This is really resonating with me because I think with so much information bombarding us these days.
Constant.
Yeah, constantly. It's so easy to get caught up in the hype or make impulsive decisions. Yeah. FOMO is real.
It is so real.
Yes.
So how do we cultivate better judgment in this kind of environment?
Well, Naval emphasizes the importance of confronting reality head on, even when it's unpleasant.
Ooh, that's hard.
It is hard because it's so easy to fall into the trap of, denial or wishful thinking.
Totally.
But he's like, the more we're clinging to how we wish things were, the more we cloud our judgment. And that's when we make bad decisions.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in wanting things to go a certain way, even when all the evidence is pointing in another direction.
Totally.
I'm definitely guilty of that.
Yeah.
But Naval doesn't just talk about wealth and judgment and all that.
Right.
He also has a lot to say about happiness.
Yeah, happiness.
Which I love.
He does. And this is where I think his thinking gets really, really interesting.
Okay.
Because he approaches happiness not just as like some fleeting emotion,
okay,
but as a skill that you can develop. Okay, I've heard that before, but it always seemed a bit, I don't know, simplistic to me.
Right.
Like, just think positive and, good things will happen.
Right, yeah. No, it's not that at all.
Okay.
Naval's approach is much more nuanced than that, I would say.
Okay.
He's not advocating for just like this kind of artificial, always be positive facade, right?
Yeah.
He acknowledges that, like, life has its ups and downs.
Of course, yeah.
But what he emphasizes is, like, building inner resilience.
Okay.
Right? It's about, like, finding that calm center within yourself.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's kind of swirling around you externally.
So how do we tap into that?
Right.
How do we, like, find that inner peace?
Right.
Especially in a world that feels like it's, like, literally designed to distract us and stress us out constantly.
It's so true. And I think this is where, Naval's own practices that he talks about come into play. So, like, he's a big proponent of meditation.
Okay.
And mindfulness.
Yeah.
Right. And it's about, it's really about creating that space between your thoughts and your reactions.
Okay.
Right. So it's not about like not having thoughts because that's impossible.
Right.
It's when you can observe your thoughts without getting like completely swept away by them.
Right.
That's when you start to gain a sense of control, I think, over how you respond to challenging situations.
It's like that, that pause before you hit reply to like a really angry email.
Totally. Yes.
Sometimes that space can make all the difference.
It makes all the difference. Yeah. So it's about cultivating that pause. Yeah. That awareness throughout your day.
Okay.
And, another big part of this whole like happiness equation for Naval is this, I think. Yeah. Understanding and managing desire.
Desire.
Yeah.
But isn't that kind of like what drives us?
It is.
Like what makes life like interesting and worth living?
100%, yeah. He would totally agree with that. But what he argues is that there's this like subtle but really important difference between being driven by desire and then being consumed by it.
Okay. Yes. So it's like, how do you find that line?
Okay. Well, he says that like directly chasing desire can often actually lead to more suffering. Okay. Because you're always like striving for that next thing and never really feeling content with like...
Right. It's that I'll be happy when kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like always putting your happiness on some external achievement or possession.
Right. Okay.
And that's fleeting, right? Yeah. That never lasts.
So how do we change that?
Yeah.
How do we like shift our thinking? Because it's so easy to fall into that trap.
It is. It is. And this is where Naval's perspective like really resonated with me when I was, going through his work. Yeah. Because it's not about suppressing desire. Okay. It's not about like pretending you don't want things. Right. It's about shifting your focus. Okay.
So instead of like obsessing over these outcomes that we can't fully control,
right.
Like what if we just found more joy in the process?
Okay.
In the work itself.
So falling in love with the journey, not just the destination.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. Like set those ambitious goals, absolutely.
Yeah.
But then kind of detach from the need to like micromanage every little outcome.
Okay.
Pour your energy into the process, enjoy the ride, and just trust that the results will kind of unfold as they should.
That's easier said than done, though, right?
It is.
Like our egos, I feel like our egos just love to be in control.
We do.
Like, how do we loosen that grip? It's like we're in this constant, like, tug of war,
Yeah.
with ourselves about wanting to control things, but also knowing that we can't control everything.
Right. And Naval would say a lot of that inner struggle comes from like our ego's resistance to just like the way things actually are.
Okay.
Right? Like we have this...
Yes, we have this fixed idea of how things should be, and then reality,
throws us a curveball.
Exactly, throws us a curveball, and we're like, no, that's not how this was supposed to go. And then we get frustrated, we get disappointed.
Yeah, we suffer.
We suffer.
Okay, so if our desire for control is kind of at the root of a lot of this, right?
Yeah.
Is the solution to just become like totally passive?
Right.
Just like whatever happens, happens, just go with the flow.
That's a great question. And Naval addresses that head on. Oh. He wouldn't advocate for like passivity, but more like a shifting perspective.
Okay.
It's about recognizing what you can control, which is like your effort, your intentions.
Right.
Right. But then the stuff that you can't control, it's more about letting go of that.
For the outcome.
The outcome, exactly, of every little thing.
So it's this balance between taking action.
Yeah.
But also kind of surrendering to the process a little bit.
100%. Yeah.
Not easy.
Not easy at all.
But I can see how it would like lead to more inner peace if you could like actually master that.
100%. And it's something that, I think we're always working on, right?
Always a work in progress.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure. For sure. But, he tells this really interesting story about this from his own life.
Okay.
Where he talks about how, earlier in his career, he had this like really strong need to be right, especially in business.
Oh, I relate to that.
Yeah.
Like so much.
Yeah, like who doesn't in a way, right?
Totally.
But he was like, I realized that this need to be right was actually blinding me.
Interesting.
To like other perspectives, to potentially better solutions.
It's like that saying, if you're always right, you're probably not learning anything new.
100%.
Yeah.
And so he made this conscious effort, he talks about, to shift his mindset where he started actively seeking out different viewpoints, even if it meant like having to admit that maybe he didn't have all the answers.
Right, right.
It was about prioritizing truth over ego.
That takes a lot of self-awareness to be able to do that, though.
It does.
To step back and say, like, hey, I might not be seeing the full picture here.
It's huge. And Navel would argue that like that willingness to be wrong, to approach things with that, like humility and curiosity, that's crucial for growth, both personally and professionally.
So we've covered a lot of ground with Navel Ravikant.
We have. He's a fascinating mind.
He is, from building wealth to finding happiness to, managing our minds.
Right.
If you had to like distill it all down to like one key takeaway, what would you say is like at the heart of his message?
I think for me, it's all about freedom.
Oh.
Like true freedom.
Yeah.
And he acknowledges that, money alone won't make you happy.
Right.
But it can buy you options. Right. Options to pursue your passions, to spend your time how you want, to have a bigger impact on the world.
But that freedom isn't just like some finish line you cross, right?
Yeah.
It's an ongoing process.
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
It's about constantly like aligning your actions with your values, building skills that empower you, and just cultivating that mindset of long-term growth and inner peace.
And it's a choice.
And those are choices we make every single day.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious for you listening, what resonated most with you?
Yeah.
About Navel's ideas, and what's one small action you can take today to like step into that greater sense of freedom and fulfillment in your own life? So keep that question in mind as you go about your day.